Hey, this is Mrs. Ellison, and you're watching the second video for the Algebra 1 Chapter 7 practice test workthrough. And this one will start with number 14, which asks us to simplify the expression 125 to the 1/3 power. We talked in class about the fractional exponents. We said we're going to raise it to this power, and we're going to take this root of it. And I generally do them in the reverse order. I'll take whichever root and then find the power. So we need to find the third root of 125, and then we'll raise it to the first power. Now that last bit, the raising to the first power, that's kind of irrelevant. We know that raising something to the first power means that we're just going to leave it alone. That's what it is. Now your calculator will do the third root of 125. I'm hoping by this point this is something you have memorized, that 125 is equal to 5 to the third. We know that a third root cancels out a third power, so this cube root of 125 is equivalent to 5. That's answer choice C. Number 15, we need to take the fourth, raise to the fourth power this a squared times b to the 1/2, and then find the ninth root of b to the 9th. Since there's nothing inside these parentheses but multiplication, we can distribute this fourth power. And when we take a power to a power, we will multiply those exponents. So this is a squared to the fourth times b to the 1/2 to the fourth. And this would be to the 2 times 4, which is 8. And half of 4 is 2. But we also need to find this ninth root of b to the 9th. And if you recall, this means the power and this means the root. That would be b to the 9/9, which is just simply b to the first power. So times b would be over here. So altogether we have 8 a's and 3 b's, and that is answer choice A. Number 16 asks us to find the degree of the polynomial. Now if you recall, the degree of a monomial, it's just the one term, you will take and add together the exponents that are on all of the variables that you have. And the degree of the polynomial means that you look at the degree of each monomial that's involved and choose the largest degree. So the degree of this first one, we would take this third power and this sixth power and add those together. This is a degree 9. This is a degree 2 because we have x to the first, y to the first, so that's degree 2. And this is also degree 2. So the largest of those three numbers would be 9, and that's a degree 9 polynomial. Number 17 talks about writing this polynomial in standard form and then give the leading coefficient. So standard form has us put the terms of the polynomial in order from largest degree to smallest degree. So this one is degree 3. This is degree 0. Notice there are no variables here, so the exponent attached to any variables would be 0. This is degree 4. This is degree 2, 5, and our little invisible 1 here. So our largest degree would be x to the 5th, this term here. Remember the sign that's before it goes with it. So it would start with negative 3x to the 5th, which means that b and c are already not good options. And it looks like the other two have the rest of the terms in the same order. So, oops, no they don't. My mistake. So we've got degree 5, and then degree 4 would be plus 4x to the 4th. Degree 3 would be this negative 6x cubed. And that's going to be where the difference is. This only has a positive x cubed, so this is option A. And the leading coefficient, of course, is the coefficient that belongs to the largest degree here. Number 18, a toy rocket is launched from a platform 28 feet above the ground at a speed of 85 feet per second. The height is given by this polynomial here, negative 16t squared plus 85t plus 28, where t is the time in seconds. How high will the rocket be after 3 seconds? We need to plug in t equals 3. So we have negative 16 times 3 squared plus 85 times 3 plus 28. Now don't make this mistake again. I know a lot of you on the quiz multiplied these two numbers. Order of operations actually states we need to find this exponent first. So this means negative 16 times 9. And then we can multiply. Multiplication would be our next step. So 16 times 9 is negative 144. And 85 times 3 would be 255. And plus 28. And then we'll add these from left to right. And this would be 111 plus 28, which gives us 139 feet. That's answer choice B. Number 19 asks us to add these two polynomials together. And when we add polynomials, all we have to do is collect our like terms together, combine them. So we have 6d cubed and another d cubed. That means we have 7d cubes. So that's not b. And if you look at d, what they've done here is they've added those exponents together. And we talked several times about when you combine like terms, you don't change the exponent on your variable. This means you have 6 of them. This means you have one more of them. So you have 7 together of the d cubes. And then the d squareds, here's negative 1 plus 5 would be plus 4d squared. And don't forget your negative 3. That's going to be the difference there. And that's option C. Number 20 asks us to subtract. And subtracting polynomials is very similar to adding polynomials, but with one additional little step that we have to remember. We have to distribute that negative, or that minus sign. It's really a negative. So that will have the effect of changing all of the signs in the second set of parentheses here. So what we have is 3a to the fourth minus a squared, and then minus a to the fourth minus 6a squared, and minus negative 1, so that's plus 1. And then our like terms here would be this 3a to the fourth minus a to the fourth gives us 2a to the fourth. Negative a squared minus another 6a squared would be minus 7a squared, and plus 1. That is option C. Number 21, we are multiplying these two. Be careful on number 20 before I move on to 21. Number 19 and 20 asks you to add. Be careful not to multiply accidentally instead. I've seen that error a lot on tests in the past where students maybe aren't paying attention to what's going on with the problem itself. Be very careful not to miss the plus sign that may be happening between sets of parentheses. If there is no sign here, that means we multiply. Number 21, we are going to distribute this first monomial into the parentheses. So what we have would be negative 5c squared d cubed times 2c to the fifth d. And we would multiply our numbers together first. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Here we have 2 c's, here we have 5 more c's, so together we have 7. And here we have 3 d's, and one more d makes d to the fourth. So that's going to be our first term, which actually gives us our answer. Let's go ahead and find our second term just for practice. Our second term would be negative 5c squared d cubed times 5c to the third d to the fifth. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5 c's, and here's 3 d's, and 5 more d's makes d to the eighth. So our answer would be negative 10c to the seventh d to the fourth minus 25c to the fifth d to the eighth, and that's choice B. Number 22, looks like we have a binomial times a binomial, and when we have that situation, we have our lovely mnemonic FOIL that we can use. F stands for first, that's y times y, which is y squared. O stands for outer terms, that would be y times negative 2, which is negative 2y. I stands for inner terms, that's negative 3 times y, which is negative 3y. And L stands for last, so that's negative 3 times negative 2, which would be positive 6. And then we can look and see if we have like terms, which we do. We have negative 2y minus another 3y, so that is negative 5y. And our answer will be y squared minus 5y plus 6, which is choice D. Number 23 asks us to multiply, and this time we have a binomial times a trinomial. So we're going to have to use some of our strategies from the end of that section rather than a FOIL strategy, because if we tried to do first, outside, inside, last, we would end up skipping over that negative 5x, and that's no good. So let's take a look at what we can do. I gave my class three different methods for multiplying these, and I'm pretty sure that the majority of you preferred the area or box method. Here we have two things, so we put 5x and minus 3. And in here we have three things. We do x to the third, minus 5x, and plus 2. And we'd structure our box that way. 5x times x to the third would be 5x to the fourth. 5x times negative 5x, that would be negative 25x squared. And then 5x times 2 would be 10x. Down here we have negative 3 times x cubed is negative 3x cubed. Here we have negative 3 times negative 5x would be positive 15x. And then negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Now be very, very careful here. I know on most of the examples we did, our like terms showed up in diagonals. They don't always. Sometimes they don't show up in the diagonals, and sometimes what does show up here is not like terms. Take a look at this. We have x cubed and x squared. Those are not like terms. We cannot combine them. So we can write 5x to the fourth. This is the only x cubed we have, so minus 3x cubed. This is the only x squared we have, so minus 25x squared. If you look in this diagonal, though, we do have like terms. There's 15x and 10x, and 15 plus 10 is 25, so that's plus 25x. And, oops, minus 6. That looks like answer choice D for number 23. On number 24, we have a couple of different options. We can use our special multiplication tricks that we learned in section 9, or we can remember that when we square something, we will write it twice and FOIL. What you absolutely must not do is distribute this exponent. You cannot distribute exponents over subtraction or addition, so be careful not to make that mistake. If we write this twice and FOIL it, or if we use our a squared minus 2ab plus b squared trick, we would end up with x squared minus 16x plus 64. And that is answer choice D. And finally, we have number 15, or 25. 15, here's 25 down here. R plus 9 times R minus 9. And we could FOIL this, or we could remember that this is one where the O and the I are going to cancel. This is positive 9R, this is negative 9R, so those will actually cancel out. So I told my class we don't have to OI, we only need to full. That would be our first terms, R squared, and our last terms, 9 times negative 9 would be negative 81, so that's answer choice D. And that concludes the work through of the Chapter 7 practice test for Algebra 1. If you have any additional questions, please be sure to get with your teacher and get those answered before we take our test on Thursday. Thank you very much.